Hi everyone, I'm Dre and this is Wiley, and today we're going to take you on a tour of our self-converted Sprinter van.
It's a 2006 Dodge Sprinter 2500 that over the last 3 years we've converted into an adventure mobile. Let's check it out.
So we'll start the tour in the cab. We didn't have to do too much, but one of the first things that we did do is Wiley was gone for a weekend and I decided it was a great idea to pull the dash completely off, and I painted it. The older Sprinters have a bluish, grayish, kind of gross looking interior, and I just wanted jet black, so I painted the entire dash. So the second thing we painted was actually the cab floor mat, and we used a truck bed liner paint for that because we wanted something that was going to be durable and last, and that was 4 years ago and we had no problems with it. One of the most useful things that we added to the cab was actually these magnetic cell phone holders, so on drive days we can just attach our phone there if we need to GPS where we're going. One of the first installations that we did on our van was actually putting in a rear view camera. This was really important for us just because I wanted to be able to see where I was going and backing up. This is also on full time when the van is on. It's just nice to see when you're on a highway, if a car is behind you or kind of in your blind spot. It's really nice. This was probably the last thing. It took us 3 years to finish our van because we were still working at the time. We knew we wanted to remove the headliner, and we just couldn't figure out if we wanted shelving for extra storage or how we were going to finish it. Because we're so tall, we're hitting our heads when we lowered the bar to the height of where we were going to put the shelf, and realized it just wasn't going to work for us. So we just decided to finish it out with the cedar. One of the other things we did is we put the swivels on the chairs, and because we wanted to be able to turn them around and lounge when we weren't driving in the van, both seats have the swivel and we use them daily, so it was a really good purchase for us. Another great addition that we're super happy with, and I think we purchased this maybe 2 years ago, was this Get Together Mini. It's a Bluetooth speaker and we can use it inside of the van or outside of the van, and it has really good sound. We really enjoy it. So as I step into the kitchen, I just wanted to go over the divider that we have. We decided to install this shower curtain rod that we got from the local hardware store, and we have curtains. So basically, if we go into somewhere and we don't want everyone to see in the living space, we can close the curtains so that they can't tell that it's a converted Sprinter van. These are thermal curtains, so in the cold, if we close these curtains, it's really cold at night, we can keep the back area warm, and if it's the summertime or it's really hot outside, our dog is in the van, we can close the curtains to keep the heat out. In order to hold these back, we just have a simple elastic band and Velcro strip that we can tie them back with. So during our build, we didn't want to waste any space, and we didn't really know what the space behind the driver's side chair was going to be for. We realized because we like to do a lot of activities, we have running shoes, we have hiking shoes and sandals, this space is perfect to fit all that stuff there. So as we step into our kitchen area, you can see these are our overhead compartments. We made everything ourselves. We are not carpenters. We have never really built anything before this process, so this was pretty fun. This is all made out of sanded 1/2-inch ply. And our overhead compartments have our dishes, mugs, bowls, our French press, some containers for our leftovers, and our greens and pastas. Over on this side, it has more of our food. So basically these are for food storage. These hinges we got from our local hardware store, and they're really good. They hold up the door so we don't have to worry about the door closing on us. We also installed these door catches. They're actually 88 cents and they work amazing. And we haven't had any issues of driving off-road and the doors opening up. Our backsplash looks fancy, but it's actually just a peel and stick backsplash, but we're really happy with it. It's super thin, so it's not heavy, and it just gives it like a slate look to the kitchen. We also have the ratchet paper towel holder. It works pretty good, but if you have the windows open while you're driving, it will unroll. One of the latest additions that I did to the kitchen area was add a spice rack. I just wanted to have somewhere that the spices weren't taking as much room up in the overhead compartments, so this has been a great addition. Our countertop is actually a butcher block countertop. It's held up really well and it was fairly cheap. We just bought this from Home Depot and we cut the sink in ourselves. Every month I will oil it just to keep it in good shape, but it's pretty low maintenance. Moving on to the faucet. The faucet is a regular household faucet. I wanted something that was retractable as well as tall enough because it was important for me to be able to wash my hair because I have really long hair. I wanted it to match the sink. So we went with a bronze sink. It's nice and deep. And I wanted a nice big sink again so I could wash my hair, but also so that the dishes would fit in it. I saw a lot of van tours with very small sinks, and I'm not sure how you guys do the dishes. This is actually a false drawer because the sink goes down that far, but it's a great place for us to hang our dish rags. This is our junk drawer. It has everything in it, cords, just randomness, but it's a great catch-all to put stuff that we don't have a place for. And it's the length of the countertop, so it's very long. And this drawer is actually impressive how much we can fit in here. So all of our pots and pans, we only use 3 pots and pans to cook with. Everything we need is here. Measuring cups, tongs, silverware, plastic wrap, foil, everything is pretty much in this drawer. Our drawer slides are actually self-closing, which is a really nice feature, so when we drive we don't have to worry about them opening. However, because this drawer has our pots and pans in it and it is a lot heavier, we do use a bungee cord. If we're off-road, sometimes it will open. This is our refrigerator. It's a truck fridge. And inside you can see on the door we can hold our sauces, creamers, condiments, butter, lime, stuff like that. It's got multiple shelves, so the capacity is pretty big. The only downside on this is the freezer. I'm not super excited about how small this freezer is. It can't even hold a pint of ice cream. So that's a negative for me. On the bottom we usually store all of our veggies. It took us a little bit to figure out what the configuration of our cabinet was going to be because we wanted to get our stove and our refrigerator so we could figure out what was going to work best. Underneath our sink is where we have our water tanks. So we went with 7 gallons. So we have the gray and the fresh. These will last us about 3 or 4 days. If we're off grid, we can cook with it, drink the water, fill up our Camelbacks, do dishes. We also have our soaps and our first aid kit under here. And don't forget the growler. We love to go to breweries after a long day of mountain biking or hiking, and we like to try local breweries. So if you have any recommendations, comment below.
So for our water system, it's actually very simple. We have a 12-volt submersible pump that's triggered by a pressure switch whenever you open or close the faucet. The clean water runs through a water filter, so everything's purified, and drains into gray water.
Our middle drawer is where we keep our stove. So we have a 2-burner Coleman. The special thing about this one is it can actually have legs that go on it, so we can either cook inside on the countertop, or if it's a nice day out, cook outside. We have our cutting board, we have our drying rack, and propane. We're not super excited about the way that we're doing our propane right now. I really don't like using the Colemans because they only last us a couple weeks and it's really hard to recycle them. So we are looking for a better alternative for that. We kept the sliding door really simple. We just put some 1/4-inch ply and stained it. if we want to put some decorations up eventually, we will. We have 2 small mirrors too, just to see what we look like after we've been in the woods for several days. These are just hangers. I got these off of Amazon. I'm a big fan of anything African animals, so these can hang clothes that are wet or need to dry out, or towels. We carpeted anything that was exposed metal with just some stereo carpeting, just to give it a little bit nicer look, and left these holes on purpose so if we want to hang wet towels or bathing suits. And good place for us to hang our hats. As we move back, this was a recent addition, getting into the Christmas spirit. I wanted some Christmas lights, but I also wanted something that we could have around all year. So if we don't want to have our puck lights on and don't want it that bright and just have a little mood lighting, we turn these on. The last couple things in the kitchen area is this is our control panel, which Wiley will go into more depth a little later. We have a cabinet storage area. At first we didn't know what we were going to put in here, but it actually works out really good for our garbage, our little broom and dustpan to clean the floors, our dog's food. This is a couple days worth of food in here, and her bowl, her needles. She's diabetic, so we have to keep insulin. We have the famous pee bottle. We decided with a yellow one, so if you're bringing it into the gas station full, no one knows that there's pee in it. And for me, I have the Go Girl, which is great to use for the pee bottle. The last part of the kitchen area, if you can use your imagination a little bit, it should have had a pulled out bench that has a compost toilet in it and a bunch of storage and 2 really deep drawers for storage. But obviously that didn't happen because of this little girl. So as we were building out our van, at the time we had 2 dogs, our other ones just passed, and they just always wanted to lay in this nook. So we changed our plans. We didn't build it out and make it into a bunch of storage. Instead, this is our dog's nook. She has a 3-inch memory foam mattress, which she absolutely loves. Her nickname is actually Snoozin' Susan because when she's not eating or hiking or adventuring with us, she's snoozing in her nook, usually snoring. Yeah. The last section of the van is the bedroom. So we built these overhead compartments with the same material that we used in the kitchen. They have the same hinges. Even though these doors are bigger, they still hold up. This is all of Wiley's clothes. And then you can see the difference between mine. I am super organized. A little OCD because I did label these, but it just makes it easier to get to all of your clothes when you know which packing cube is what. And lastly, this smaller cupboard is all of our toiletries. It's got a bunch of random stuff in here, like wipes, our deuce of spades if we have to use the bathroom outside, all that kind of stuff. We had a couple inches on the side of the mattress to put some storage in. I think when we built it, we didn't know what the storage was going to be, but as we were traveling along, we realized we didn't have anywhere for our dirty clothes. So this is actually a perfect place for us to store all of our dirty, stinky clothes after we're adventuring all day. We did also get this, we call it a school bus fan because it's really loud, but it was cheap and it does the job. If it's really hot out and we need a little bit more air circulation, we'll turn this thing on. It's loud, but it works. I'm moving up here. This little gray bin is our snack drawer. We have cereal and a bunch of snacks in there and coffee, just random stuff that won't fit in the overhead compartments. And then there's a little bit of room for some booze, some dog treats, and we have all of our maps here. We do have our carbon monoxide detector, which is really important if you live in a van and use propane or diesel heaters. Definitely have one of these. And lastly, This is for us to watch TV. You can hang a tablet from there and watch some TV. So we've had our van for 4 years, and when we first started using it for weekend trips because we were still working full-time, we basically were just using Reflectix with some magnets on it for our privacy. But since then we have upgraded, and these shades are from a company called Quest Overland. They're based out of Oregon, and they were not cheap, but they were worth every penny. So we've had them for about 2 years, and they're just really nice. They're black on one side, so you can put that on the outside, and then gray on the inside. And they have magnets on them, so they go in really easy, and they just magnet up. Front goes in like this, and then they have the option, if you have the review mirror, to select that when you get them custom made. And our sun visors actually hold the top end, so you get a ton of privacy. So 2 years into part-time van lifing, we made the decision to go down to Key West, Florida, and we sweat our butts off because it was so hot and so humid, and we basically had to make a choice of leave the windows open and have the fan on and get eaten by mosquitoes, or leave the windows closed. So after that trip, we decided to search far and wide and find a solution for that, so we didn't have to make that choice. And we actually found these. These were off of Eurocamper's website, and they have vents on the front and screen on the back, so you can put these in the window and not have to make that decision. And these have been a lifesaver. We're extremely happy that we found these. So you just put down the window and then slide these in, and then put the window up. So in our bedroom area, we decided to go with a permanent bed. Wiley and I are very tall. I'm 5'10", he's 6 foot. So we knew we didn't want to make a bed every single night, and it was really important for us to have our mountain bikes underneath inside the van. So this is actually a queen size bed, and we just went with a simple 4-inch memory foam mattress. So far we really like it. This is basically from the garden section. I got it off of Amazon, but it works perfect because it has a 1/2-inch gap underneath it. There was a lot of van lifers as we were doing our build talking about getting mold, and that just keeps our mattress off of the plywood that's underneath it to prevent that from happening and letting the mattress breathe a little bit and get some circulation.
So after doing a ton of research online, on YouTube, on the forums, we ultimately landed on the T1N Sprinter. There's a ton of reasons why we chose this van, but we'll stick to the basics, which is, number one, we needed a high roof. We wanted a van that we were able to stand up in and not have to worry about slouching or hitting our heads on anything. Number two, we wanted high ground clearance, which the Sprinter does have a nice clearance right out of the factory. Number three, we wanted great fuel economy, and the 5-cylinder 2.7 liter turbo diesel engine that Mercedes offers gets like 20 to 24 miles to the gallon. Last, because it's Mercedes, parts are available worldwide. That was a big thing for us because we do plan to travel into Central and South America in the near future. One of the things that we wanted to do immediately after we got the van was make sure that we had a great set of tires on them for the traveling that we were intending to do. So we knew in the beginning we were mostly going to be traveling domestically. So to start, we have Michelin LTX AT2s. It's a 245/75 16-inch tire, so it is factory rims that these tires are mounted on. They are slightly larger than what you'd get from the factory, just to get a little bit more rubber and a little bit more grip on them. These are the first tires that we're going to use, and next year we plan to travel possibly in Baja, Mexico, and I am going to upgrade these tires to something a little bit more geared toward off-road. So leave a comment below on what you have and what you use and why, because I am going to be starting the research to determine what's going to work best for us. One of the things that is important to us that we convey to anybody else out there who's thinking about doing their own conversion is that this van build was 100% DIY. There isn't anything that was done to this van that we haven't physically put our own hands and energy and effort into, and anybody can do it because I am not a carpenter, an electrician, or a plumbing guy. Neither is my wife. We just figured it out. If you do enough research and you're not afraid to try, you can make it work. So one of my favorite parts of the inside of the van is what I refer to as the information center. And here is kind of where all the action happens, and it's where everything comes together as far as the electronics associated with the van. So right off the bat, when you walk into the van, I set it up so that there's 2 light switches that can trigger the lights both in the kitchen area and in the bedroom area, so that we have no problem seeing when we're climbing in. So when we installed the lights that are over the bed, it's simply a switch right here, turns on 6 puck lights. I also installed a dimmer switch so that we can dim them down, so they're not blinding you or too bright when you're relaxing and hanging out in the evening. Right above it, I have 2 standard household outlets, 110 electric that runs off the inverter and also has 2 USB ports. So there's kind of 2 ways to power your electronics in this van. One is through our inverter and the other is directly from the batteries. So I'm going to show you in a second how we do it directly from the house batteries. So on this switch, which is right next to the kitchen sink, I'm able to independently control the lights that are above the sink, the map lights that are above the seats, the water pump, which is electric, and this one's for the 12-volt fridge, and this is basically on all the time. I have 2 USBs directly wired to the house batteries, so those are on all the time and can charge our cell phones whenever we want without having to turn on the inverter. This one's a basic 12-volt cigarette style outlet. This one will power my compressor in case I need to add some air to the tires. And then last but not least, you'll see another one of these, which I had over by the information center. One of my absolute favorite pieces of equipment in the van in regards to the solar and the electric is this battery monitor here. I didn't have this before. I just had a standard voltmeter, which gives you this number right here. Problem is, with that number, it's really hard to tell what the current state of charge is of your batteries. So this monitor tells me the percentage, just like a cell phone or a tablet. I'm 88.5% full right now. That's very important information based on the system and how you design it to not let your batteries go below the recommended charge level. This is very simply the on-off switch for my inverter. It's very handy. Inverters do use a little bit of power when they're on, so I wanted the ability to only have it on when we need it. This is the information center for my solar setup. This is the Solar Epic MT50. This is going to tell you everything you would ever want to know about the solar and what's going on with that. I'll get into more detail on that in future videos. Last but not least, this van does have a independent heating system. We went with the S-Bar D2. It's a diesel powered heater, and conveniently it fits perfectly under the passenger seat. One of the things that we really wanted with our heating system was the ability to tap into the existing diesel gas tank. So this taps into our gas tank, burns about a half a gallon of fuel every 12 hours if we actually have it on that long. So basically it sips fuel and keeps the van nice and cozy. On the opposite side, behind this wall, which you can't see, but I'll put up pictures, this is where all the electronics are housed. So I have the charge controller, which is from Renergy. I have the inverter, which is Xantrex. That's a 2,000 watt inverter for our setup. I have 2 batteries, which are VMAX tanks. They are 155 amp hours each, 12 volt batteries. So with 2 12 volt batteries side by side in parallel, I have 310 total amp hours for our system. The fuse block is back there. I have breakers back there. Everything's protected. It's all on individual lines, so if anything goes wrong, it's gonna trip. It's not gonna kill everything in here. So to keep our batteries charged, we decided to install 3 100 watt Renergy solar panels on the roof of our van. As you can see, we wanted to keep as low a profile as possible, so we did kind of a custom setup on top using standard car roof rails and adapted them to hold the solar panels. If we find ourselves in a situation where we don't get enough sunlight to charge our system, like rainy days or multiple cloudy days, we opted to install a battery isolator. That's a nice little device that detects when the engine is running and can transfer power from the alternator to the house batteries. So just by going for a drive, we're able to charge our system.
A recent addition that we made to our van over the last year was actually these slide-out RV windows. We had single pane before, and these are really nice because now if it's really hot, the air will pull over our heads and feel pretty much like air conditioning. You can also open these screens as well if you wanted to, but we usually keep these screens closed.
To make all the ventilation come together, we decided to go with a max fan. One of the big reasons that we did is it has a cover that you can leave open even when it's raining and the water won't come in. So that was a big deal for us. It's a 10-speed fan. When it comes time to cool off, we open up the 2 back windows, we put the vents in the 2 front windows, and the max fan draws the air up and in and creates really nice airflow in here. So for our final finish, we decided to go with tongue and groove cedar. Gives the van a nice cozy feeling to it, and beneath that we used spray foam insulation that we blew in ourselves. And lastly, we'll show you the garage. So this is what a van garage looks like in its true traveling form. But believe it or not, this is all by design. So one of our primary goals was to make sure that we were able to mount the 2 mountain bikes under the bed. We take the front tires off and slide them right next to it. And if I dig in a little bit, if I move our helmets, the dog food, and our spare water. So this is a laundry basket. We keep all kinds of good stuff in, including dirty laundry. Under that, you'll see our 3 Rubbermaid totes. You can actually fit 4 in here comfortably if you don't want the laundry basket. In here, we keep our day packs, our hiking gear, our overnight camping gear. We have scuba gear. Whatever suits your fancy, we've got room for it here. Works out perfect. If you just generally look, you can see the overall layout of the build. It's actually very simple. On each side, we have shelving. Everything's, cheap 2x4s, nothing fancy here. We keep our dog food, our spare propane tanks. We keep our hiking backpacks. We have stand-up paddle boards that fit 1 on each side. They're inflatable. And right here, next to Dre's bike, we tucked in a universal toolkit. So in each corner, we've kind of designated areas for different things. This is the van-related area. We've got the wheel chocks, spare motor oil, coolant, compressor to fill up the tires if we need to, some Allen wrenches, just kind of some random stuff tucked away there. On the other side, this is kind of the mountain biking corner, if you will. Keep all our lubricants, our spare tubes, our helmets, our gloves, our spare parts right there. We tuck the drone in right here in case we need to pull that out to get some good footage. And when you just get back from a long ride, you get the bikes all put away. Got a little beer holder as well, just to keep it cozy.
And that's the end of our van tour.
If you have any questions about the van build, comment below. We'll be sure to get back to you. Don't forget to stay tuned for more in-depth videos coming soon.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.